So I'm Sam Abu. I'm the country senior partner for PwC Nigeria and the regional senior partner for PwC West Market, which is West Africa.
The event has just been wrapped up and it was really, really insightful. I want to know, aside from like my own personal experience, what was the reason why this roundtable was so important to hold?
This forum, these kind of sessions provide us an opportunity to have very important conversations about the direction of the country. There are a number of business leaders in the room today, as you saw. And the one thing that business leaders are contending with is how to navigate the complexities of operating in the kind of global economic environment that we are into. So these conversations or these sessions enable us to share perspectives and insights and information about how the strategies to deploy in running our businesses. But I think it's also very important in shaping the conversations we need to have in this country about the direction of travel of the country. Because we are all, whether business leaders or individuals, we're all stakeholders in this country.
Yes.
So having this opportunity to have conversations and discussions about our economy, about the budget, about government reforms and policies is a critical part of the job that we have to do as business leaders, as individuals in this country. So this is, I'll say that is the primary motivation for doing something like this. But I think it's of immense value to everybody who attends it.
Thank you so much. I also want to know, what is your major takeaway from this event?
If I was to say the one thing that I took away was optimism. You know, I mean, we kind of came in there today. Everybody had a slightly pessimistic view of where 2025, what 2025 would mean for businesses, especially given where we're coming from in 2024. Think about the macroeconomic challenges that we've had to deal with in 2024 in Nigeria and even across the world: inflation, currency volatility, you just name it. But the overwhelming sentiment today was positivity. Like, I think it can't get any worse than it was last year, you see? So inflation, the outlook is that inflation is going to come down, going to trend down. There's going to be some stability in exchange rates. There's even a suggestion that exchange rate might come down. God, amen to that, right?
Amen. Yeah.
So yeah, I would say the overwhelming sentiment is 2025 will be a better year than 2024, and we'll begin to see an upward trajectory in all our metrics, economic metrics. Of course, the road ahead is still rough. 2024 was that it is a better year doesn't mean it is perfect or it is good.
Yeah.
It is just that we're coming from a very low base when you talk about inflation or currency volatility. So the fact that we're going up, we're trending up, is reason to be hopeful and reason to be optimistic about the future of business in Nigeria.
Thank you so much, sir, for sitting with us and granting us this interview. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
So I would like to get what your key takeaways from this event. I believe that you were not just a panelist, but you were also a member of the audience.
Yeah, the key takeaway for me will be that there was the consistency and consensus that the reforms were the right reforms, and that the direction of travel is going to take us to the Nigeria that we want. It's also one of the takeaways also that the outlook for 2025 is much better than 2024 was. And this is not just because we're being optimistic. It is based on what the data is saying around inflation expectations and the factors that were stoking inflation in 2024, which are no longer there in 2025. In addition to the base effect that, you know, it can be worse than it was before. Yeah. And then you have expectation around interest rates, because as inflation begins to moderate, the monetary authorities will have the reason to cut interest rates. And also, even additionally, we have the credit concession scheme for the businesses. All of these altogether mean that we should have the opportunity to celebrate or begin to celebrate in 2025 that the sacrifices that we made as a people is beginning to yield results. And for people generally, it's to not just all be negative about the economy, because that way you may miss out on the opportunities, which I think are abound across all sectors.
Okay, so based on the panel that you just had, I heard that you spoke a lot about data, and from what we're just discussing right now, you seem to be a very big believer of data. So what are the opportunities that people should look forward to investing into in 2025 if they want to thrive in their businesses?
I think it cuts across all sectors because whether you're talking about manufacturing or industry generally, whether you're talking about services, including financial services, telecommunication, whether you're talking about energy sector, we have a lot of focus around energy in particular, from renewable to additional investments, including the policy decentralizing electricity regulation, which means that the state can now decide, to generate and put whatever excess into the grid. So those reforms are also going to provide opportunities across the board. Even the tariff increase on telecommunication, why nobody is happy that tariffs are going up, the issue is that will help them to improve quality, and quality of service will feed into the economy by way of better productivity, which will overcompensate for the additional tariff and that we're having to bear. And so I do think that depending on the sector you operate, just look out for the opportunities and you will find.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. It was really lovely sitting with you. I want to know, is there any other thing you would like to add? Maybe a question that you felt was not answered properly in the hall, or you would like to say anything here?
No, I think it's just to encourage everyone to play their part and engage with the government constructively. And that's way to solve the problems. Complaints don't solve problems. Ideas and solutions are the ways to solve problems.
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much for sitting with us.
My name is Dr. Gabriel Ubeche. I'm the Group Managing Director of Rain Oil Limited.
You spoke really well in your panel and you did really amazing with the questions that were thrown at you also, but we still have more questions and we just want to know, what is your outlook for this year in the light of the new policies that has been brought out in 2025?
2025 remains a very optimistic year. I think our worst days are behind us. 2024, 2023, we had the twin challenge of the fuel subsidy removal and the attendant increase in the price of petroleum products, and then the Naira devaluation, which also impacted the price of petroleum products. And then we saw the demand for petroleum products go down and the general effect it had on the economy. A lot of companies took FX losses, but I think that 2025, all that is behind us now. All we see is positivity. I think the economy now is in the right trajectory. We've seen a calmness in the exchange rate, because I've always argued that the problem we've had in this country, or the problem we've had in the last year or so, wasn't really what the exchange rate was, as much as people waking up in the morning and not knowing what the exchange rate is. So it doesn't matter whether exchange rate is 1,006 or 1,007 or 1,008, but could it be stable? Can we plan with it? Can we wake up in the morning and say exchange rate is 1,800 and you can hold on to the fact that it's 1,800? That wasn't what the case was. But now we've seen calmness in the exchange rate. Exchange rate is now about 1,550 naira to the dollar. Again, because of the transparency which the Central Bank of Nigeria brought to the exchange rate regime. And I'm aware that they keep tweaking those policies. So we're seeing that stability. And once you have that stability, I think the economy will definitely pick up.
Okay. Also, I know that you were a panelist, but you're also part of the audience first before you went on to your panel. So what are your key takeaways from the entire event, both from your own panel and the one before you?
My key takeaway is when Taiwo Uidele said we should think positively, because, when we think negatively, it kind of becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. And I completely agree with him when he gave the example of, it's like when you wake up and say, oh, Naira is going to devalue. Once you have that mindset, you find out that you unconsciously begin to take actions towards that goal. And once everybody begins to take action towards that goal, then it just becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. The Naira loses value. So we should stop betting against the Naira. I mean, when he also said that we have $30 billion in domiciliary accounts in Nigeria, If Nigerians are holding $30 billion within Nigerian banks, then it simply means that the whole nation have essentially bet against the Naira. Then we should take responsibility for what the outcome, which we all eventually got. But again, I think that things can only get better.
Okay. Thank you so much, Sarah, for granting us this interview. And I hope to see you in more events so that we can also interact.
Thank you, Norma.
Thank you so much for agreeing to sit with us. I would like to know your key takeaways from the event today, because I know that you were not just a panelist, but you were also part of the audience.
Okay, so I think for me, it's the positive outlook. I can say it's cautious optimism, but the fact that there is hope in the horizon and that 2025 will be a much better year than 2024 was across a number of dimensions. I think that's my key takeaway. And that's uplifting for myself and for other listeners as well. So that's my key takeaway.
Okay, thank you so much. Also, you spoke on some trends, which is AI at this point. And for so many businesses, they are lagging behind in joining up with this trend of AI. What would be your advice to those organizations and businesses in implementing AI into their system?
Okay, as I said during the session, AI is here to stay. And the fact that it can have a significant impact on what we do, how we live, how businesses will run can't be underestimated. I think for me, the biggest thing that needs to happen locally is they need to build trust, because stakeholders need to understand what it's about and how it will benefit them. And part of that building trust, for me, is practicing responsible AI. Responsible AI is about looking at not just the legal dimension, but the ethical dimension. There are always ethical questions thrown up when people start talking about AI. There could be bias, there could be hallucinations. There are a raft of issues to consider. But responsible AI, really, it's about just approaching AI from the point of view of ensuring accountability, transparency, and fairness in how it is done. I think that's the very first step. And for anybody going into an AI conversation, you need to first define what responsible AI means to you. Yes. Once you tackle that, then you can begin to build trust in that process. Obviously, then you also need to invest in technology and capacity building. But as I said, there are interesting use cases going on globally. And we need to, as a people, as a nation, as an industry, begin to start leveraging those use cases and seeing how we can use those to scale up and improve our bottom lines and our efficiencies and operational efficiencies as well.
Okay. Thank you so much, Ma. Thank you for granting us this interview. And I hope to see you another time so that we could talk more.
Thank you very much.